Alright, folks, so today we are talking about Emma Vigeland of TYT. Now, I've talked about Emma Vigeland before on this issue specifically as well, and it is about her support for Warren. Now, her defense of Warren has really gone back to literally, I remember right after the 2016 election, so just in 2017, she was already defending Warren at that point, and she just seems to have some sort of weird attachment to Elizabeth Warren, and I don't know what it is, but it's really weird. So she does support Bernie over Warren, which I think is an important piece of information to add in there. So she does support Bernie over Warren, but I'm going to take issue with some of the verbiage used here that is a descriptor of Elizabeth Warren. I'm going to disagree with this. And she sent out a tweet, today, or yesterday, sorry. She says, "My mentions tell me, depending on the day, that I'm a Warren shill or a biased Bernie bro. I'm just trying to do my job, people. I think they're both great, and I'm going to give you my honest takes on both. If you don't like it, you're more than welcome to unfollow." So, as you guys see there, the descriptor word that's used here is "I think they're both great." Now, I actually take issue with this in two ways, okay? One is that I don't agree that Elizabeth Warren is a, quote, great candidate. Now, is Elizabeth Warren better than all of the other candidates by a long shot? Yeah. But all the other candidates are terrifyingly bad. That's not an accomplishment. That's not something that's amazing. Being better than all the other candidates is not a difficult thing to do. And so is that true? Yes. But is she great in a vacuum? Of course not. Of course not. I would venture to say she's either smack mediocre or a little bit better than mediocre, maybe, is where I would put her at. Maybe she's a little bit better than mediocre, I would say. But that's the first thing that I take issue with. The second thing that I take issue with is the way that this is phrased essentially does an equivocation between the two. Like, oh, both Bernie and Warren are great. Okay, so A, I don't agree that Elizabeth Warren is great. B, the way when you say it like that, it makes it sound like they're the same when they're not. Bernie Sanders is far superior to Elizabeth Warren, and it's not even close. I cannot stress that enough to you guys. Now, she puts Bernie over Warren, I think, by a little tick, as sort of as evidenced by this tweet in and of itself. But I'm telling you, folks, Warren is not a great candidate, point blank. And Emma Vigeland's sort of defense and defensive response for Warren all the time is really weird. I don't understand it. Some things I just can't fathom. This is one of them because I don't understand why you would be so caping so hard for Warren all the time. Now, Emma did ask her the question about the foreign budget and exposed her, but it seems to be the case that I think she's under the impression that that's like the only blind spot that Warren has, or that's the only thing that, she's inferior to Bernie on. And I also find it odd, considering that she's explained that she doesn't believe in unilateral disarmament, and that basically she wants to play by the same rules, which means, man, we're going to be going to the Hamptons and raking in dollars, man. We're going to be raking in millions. The idea, like, the Young Turks, because the Young Turks as a whole, right, Cenk, everyone there, they're fairly nice to Warren. They're sometimes critical of her in some ways, but they're pretty accepting, pretty approving, etc., etc., and they treat her really nicely, and they also seem to do that. I've seen Cenk defend her on that specific issue multiple times, which to me is weird, because money out of politics has been the number one thing from Cenk and TYT as an organization since the time that it existed. So I find it concerning and weird that they would just kind of sort of shrug that under the rug. I've literally seen Cenk doing a defense of Warren, who, by the way, literally said the quote that I just told you on his show to Cenk's face, as well as to Chris Hayes' face. So I find that to be crazy. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's because, I think it's probably because of access. Because the thing is, and this is what TYT and all progressive media has been going after mainstream media for years. The thing is if you're not nice to Warren, she won't appear on your show, and so they feel like they got to be nice to her so that she appears on their show, because she's a huge candidate. I mean, you're talking about like the third highest candidate in terms of the polling data right now. I did not expect her to perform this well. And so that's pretty big when you're talking about, oh, look, our show has on Elizabeth Warren, the third top candidate in terms of polling data. It's pretty big. So I just find that to be really concerning. Now, what I actually did was I wrote down just a little quick bullet-pointed list down here. You can see in the bottom right. We're just going to go through some of these. Now, this isn't even really a full, complete list. Like, I'm sure there are a couple things you could fill in there as well. But I feel like I touched on most of the important stuff that differentiates Bernie from Warren. So the first and the biggest thing to me is that she's going to be doing big dollar fundraisers in the general election and possibly be taking super PAC dollars. To me, that's extremely concerning. To me, the moment that you start taking money in those big fundraisers in the Hamptons, etc., etc. By the way, in the Hamptons, Pete Buttigieg is making a crap load of money. Kamala Harris, everyone. Obama's bundlers are over there, so you know Warren's going to be going over there, right? You know that for a fact. The moment you do that, you're a sellout. I can't trust you anymore. You don't represent me. You represent them. That's one of those things where it's like, okay, 3 strikes, you're out. Automatically off of one throw. That's it. As you guys all know, she voted for Trump's very bloated foreign budget. Of course, that was insane because Congress stupidly gave Donald Trump more than he asked for himself. It was pretty remarkable to watch. He got more money than he asked for the foreign budget, which is absolutely insane. She voted for that. Bernardino Sanders voted against it. Emma Vigeland asked her a question about that, and she just completely defused like an NPC computer. It was really cringy, super cringy. Started talking about conflict of interest in the Trump admin, which is entirely irrelevant, considering that she, I guess, has no conflict of interest, but she's, the one voting for the budget, so it doesn't make any sense. The next one is that she's secretly speaking with the establishment, letting them know that she won't rock the boat. This is a New York Times revelation that came out the other day, not the other day, a couple weeks ago, whereas basically there are secret letters being sent to the Democratic establishment by Elizabeth Warren, letting them know, hey, I'm not coming in here to break the system. I just want to lead the Democratic Party. Because the thing about Bernie Sanders is, once he gets in, he's going to change the rules. He's going to make it more fair. He's going to make it legit. And he's really going to shake up the system. So they're really afraid of that. Elizabeth Warren is basically contacting them and saying, hey, I am not going to rock the boat. I am not like Bernardino. I am just going to lead you guys. That's it. I don't plan on changing the system. So that's very concerning to me. Also, what's concerning to me is the mainstream media's acceptance of her. It's weird. Like, the mainstream media would not be accepting her if she was like Bernie. That's what you have to understand as well. There are also some rich people who are begrudgingly pro-Warren as well. Of course, she did not endorse Bernie in 2016, as you guys all recall. She totally forwent. I don't know. She had gone away from her political principles, and she basically did not endorse the clear, more progressive candidate in the race, either because she was holding out to be Hillary's VP, or because she was gearing up for this run and didn't want to alienate all of the Hillary stands, because believe it or not, a big chunk of her, supporters are basically Hillary supporters. So that's unacceptable to me. That's really shady stuff. She also waffled on Medicare for All. That's also, of course, a very important piece of information. We cannot afford to have a candidate who is not extremely, extremely strong on the issue of Medicare for All. We need a fully pro Medicare for All candidate. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No waffling. No, there's multiple routes we can go. Nah, bruh. It's one way, and it's M4A, and it's Bernie's bill that's been proposed in the Senate. So, there ain't multiple ways, homie. There's one way. So, she's already waffled on it. You guys know she did not speak about the Dakota Access Pipeline, in which, I think it was private security or something, was basically spraying these really cold and high-powered water cannons at people. It was really terrible, and she didn't speak about it at all, which is also ironic because, she had the whole Native American fiasco, and, apparently she didn't really care enough, so that's pretty bad. That's pretty darn bad. And then, lastly, we have speaking with Hillary Clinton behind the scenes. As you guys know, there's also a somewhat recent revelation. I'd reported on the story months and months ago, 6 months ago plus, where she met with Hillary Clinton as part of Hillary's 2020 outreach program to basically help their campaigns. Now, of course, Bernie is not reaching out for obvious reasons. Hillary has nothing good to add. She's a terrible candidate and will just complete. She's the kiss. She basically is the opposite of the Midas touch, pretty much. She's literally the opposite. Anything she touches just perishes immediately. So it's really, really bad. This is not even a complete list. I'm sure I've left off a couple of things here. But the point to be made here is I really don't know what is going on with Emma Vigeland, what the reason for this sort of weird love for Warren comes from. I take issue with the characterization that Warren is a great candidate. I think that she's maybe a mediocre / okay candidate, I would say. And I would say that this equivocation between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren is ridiculous because they are not even close. Bernie Sanders is way more progressive. Elizabeth Warren is no Bernie Sanders. She has a lot of corporate tendencies, and I don't like that. She has a lot of leanings towards Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, etc., etc. She's literally meeting with Hillary Clinton. Of course, there's a big story on that. And actually, I went ahead and asked you guys. I went ahead and asked you guys over on the community tab where I can post polls and everything. So it looks like 1.7K people have voted so far. So do you think Elizabeth Warren is a great candidate? 35% said yes, 65% said no. So it looks like most people agree with that, I guess. And that's just my opinion. I do take issue. I don't know how to say this. I just take issue with this verbiage. I don't agree at all. I'm going to disagree because I think that it's a... I don't know if you want to say... I wouldn't say disingenuous. I just think it's wrong. I don't know. And there has to be some sort of weird motive going on here for this crusade of a defense for Elizabeth Warren. And it really has me really weirded out and suspicious.